But can you find yourself?
Start your summer road trip at Midas and get up to $30 off your next repair service. Plus, get a free closer look vehicle check to make sure you're road trip ready. If you need brake service, an alignment check, or tune-up, hit up Midas for up to $30 off. For more details, request your appointment at Midas.com.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
At the LASIK Vision Institute, we know LASIK is a big decision, and every one of our patients is unique. That's why we customize your LASIK journey to you.
I only have a certain budget.
No problem. Right now at the LASIK Vision Institute, get 20% off LASIK when treated in April. That can be over $900 off when treating both eyes, plus guaranteed financing options. So visit GetLVILASIK.com today to start your journey towards 20/20 vision. Must mention this promotion and be treated in April of 2024 to qualify. 20% off standard price of wave light procedure. Cannot be combined with any other offers. Go to GetLVILASIK.com for details. At the LASIK Vision Institute, we know LASIK is a big decision, and every one of our patients is unique. That's why we customize your LASIK journey to you.
I'm so busy right now.
We offer a mix of convenient days and times, including 30-minute virtual appointments to fit your schedule.
I would love it, but I have astigmatism.
We treat thousands of patients with astigmatism every month with great outcomes. The LASIK Vision Institute is making your journey towards 20/20 vision all about you. So visit GetLVILASIK.com today to start your LASIK journey.
Hi, I'm Mike, founder of DollarShaveClub.com. What is DollarShaveClub.com? Well, for $1 a month, we send high-quality razors right to your door. Yeah, $1. Are the blades any good? No. Our blades are f***ing great. Each razor has stainless steel blades, an aloe vera lubricating strip, and a pivot head. It's so gentle a toddler could use it. And do you like spending $20 a month on brand name razors? 19 go to Roger Federer. I'm good at tennis. And do you think your razor needs a vibrating handle, a flashlight, a back scratcher, and 10 blades? Your handsome-ass grandfather had 1 blade and polio. Looking good, Pop-Up! Stop paying for shave tech you don't need. And stop forgetting to buy your blades every month. Alejandro and I are going to ship them right to you. We're not just selling razors, we're also making new jobs. Alejandro, what were you doing last month?
Not working.
What are you doing now?
Working.
I'm no Vanderbilt, but this train makes hay. So stop forgetting to buy your blades every month and start deciding where you're going to stack all those dollar bills I'm saving you. We are DollarShaveClub.com, and the party is on.
I know karate, I know jiu-jitsu and drive like a gangster when I'm coming to see you, see you.
Hi, everyone. This is JJ, the co-founder of Good Pods. If you haven't heard of it yet, Good Pods is like Goodreads or Instagram, but for podcasts. It's new, it's social, it's different, and it's growing really fast. There are more than 2 million podcasts, and we know that it is impossible to figure out what to listen to. On Good Pods, you follow your friends and podcasters to see what they like. That is the #1 way to discover new shows and episodes. You can find Good Pods on the web or download the app. Happy listening.
Ready to stand out, Army ROTC prepares you not only as a college student, but as a strong leader, allowing you to earn the rank of second lieutenant. You will be eligible for full tuition merit-based scholarships and develop leadership skills essential for your future. Start strong and enhance your college experience. Visit your campus Army ROTC representative today. To find out how you can earn up to a full tuition scholarship, visit goarmy.com/podcast to locate your closest ROTC program today. Army officers inspire, strengthen others. Paid for by the United States Army.
Not to be a backseat driver, but can you say for sure you got the best monthly payment possible on your auto loan? Could it be that you might have gotten a better deal by shopping the loan at a few places and have a lower car payment? Next time, before you go car shopping, visit Communication Federal Credit Union first. Our auto loan experts will find you a perfect loan and get you the lowest monthly payment we can. Communication Federal, your auto loan experts. Restrictions apply. Federally insured by NCUA.
The following program.
Good evening, one and all. Welcome to our inaugural Monday night 2-hour show, which will be on 3 Mondays out of the month, excluding the second Monday of the month, because that's already someone else is using it for now, which we will allow because we know the red wine is fantastic. I'm joined by Darylyn. We were beefing in between, but we'll take our argument later.
Because I don't know how to say the dead president's name. Razy?
So
you say it, Rick?
we want to say this. Ding dong, a dictator's gone because he sat there and crashed in a helicopter. And I'm kind of thinking he probably didn't have 72 virgins waiting for him. Oh, wait a minute. Is he a Shiite or is he the other ones? I don't know. Iran is one type and anyhow. He is a hardliner. He had a lot to do with a lot of the issues back in the 80s. He hates Americans. They tried to portray him as like a Western style president. What are your bets that Biden's sending condolences?
He's probably sending another plane full of money.
I mean,
probably
seriously.
But we were saying that when the Ayatollah was there, it was a little bit more stable. Or we were saying because
the Shah of Iran.
Shah,
Don't say the Ayatollah. The Ayatollah is a religious nutbag.
No, I know.
I hope he listens to me. Yes, Ayatollah, you're a religious nutbag.
Well, I don't know how to say any of these names.
Well, that's because they're Iranian. I can't say half of them. It might be Reza. He's dead. He's gone. His foreign prime minister died with him. I feel bad for the people that worked for them. Don't care for them.
I mean, there's 90 million people there whose government backs, regional armed Gaza and Hamas and Lebanese Hezbollah and Yemen Houthis. So
they funded, I believe, a lot of the Israeli attacks that happened when Hamas went in October 7th. I mean, we definitely know that they supply arms, as you said, to the Houthis. They're an evil, evil bunch.
Was that right?
I don't know if I echoed.
Oh, maybe you. But how about this? They say the helicopter suffered a hard landing. I mean, it's a crash, right? You're dead. I think it's a tiny bit more than.
I think they didn't want to say initially he was dead. Obviously.
Oh, they didn't want to say?
I don't think they did initially when it was first reported, but others on the ground were like, "There's a crash. We can't find them. They're in the mountains." First, initially they said they were in contact with a member of the helicopter crew and a passenger, but then we're finding out now they're all dead. So obviously that was a lie.
And I don't believe anything in the media. What's the first thing I said to you? Did we shoot him down?
Yeah, I was thinking.
I mean, seriously,
maybe Israel did, but and if they did, good for them.
Well, whatever. I mean, we meaning like, do we know that they were shot down? Because why are they suffering a quote? If you're going to land, you're purposely landing somewhere, and that's when you have a hard landing. When you crash, and people die. I don't call it a hard landing. Do you?
No. I mean, they did say there was bad weather.
Well, how far is Azerbaijan from where he was coming from?
I'm not sure. I'm really not sure about that. But it was a mountainous area, supposedly.
Have rain in Azerbaijan.
But this is one of the descriptions I read. They said it was a mountainous area and there was sudden fog. Okay.
But you have
by sudden fog.
You have instrument-rated pilots that can fly with basically in complete and utter darkness. So it doesn't make sense to me that they're complaining. It's poor weather conditions.
In complete sudden. I like that when they said sudden fog.
Fog in Azerbaijan, like really?
It's a mountainous area, so I mean, but still.
I mean, where is fog? What altitude are they flying at where they're running into fog? I mean, they should be.
I
fog,
did not attend my science class that week.
That we do when we investigate for people is we look at all the surrounding information. And that is what I think is really missing in education today.
Oh,
And
yes.
even some educators, if you read some of the reports that some educators write, and you're like, whoa, man, I would fire that person if they worked for me.
The typos, the spelling errors, that was always a huge,
you spell
huge
the
pet peeve of mine.
name wrong, like the subject of the report, you spell their name wrong. Oh, speaking of Karen Reed trial.
Oh, yes. I haven't really been able to follow that, so I'm like dying for an update.
So
for those who don't know, Karen Reed, which you should know because it's all over the nation now, it's on court TV and all that stuff, whatever, supposedly, hit her Boston police officer boyfriend. We don't believe that. We don't believe that.
Yeah,
we believe she was framed.
Because if you just look at some of just the circumstantial evidence from being a police officer for 25, 26 years, whatever it was, if I see a strange car at the end of my street, I'm taking down the plate and, and saying like, who are you? You're going to tell me that there's going to be fire trucks and police officers and lights and sirens and no cops going out the front of his house?
Did you happen to catch a glimpse of someone put up a picture of all the vehicles, the police and the fire and all that stuff, vehicles that were in front of his house?
Yeah, and you don't know. Listen.
And you don't come out and take a look and say, why are they in my driveway?
Well, the funny thing is, Brian Albert was on this show, Boston Finest.
Yes.
And he looks a lot different now than he did then. And I would suggest that there's a lot of people going to prison. I mean,
I would agree with you.
If the federal government was doing grand juries, something's really wrong in Cantonville, because how do you when we prep for trials, if you have a grand jury and then you go to trial, you read your grand jury minutes at some point before you go to the trial, and these people totally say, as an example, and this isn't what they said, but if they said it was blue the day of, in the grand jury they said it was pink, and it's just crazy the way they flip flip the facts, flip what they say, a lot of extraneous information. When people lie, if I say to you, or if you say to your, I would say boyfriend, whatever, right? Where were you? Well, at first I went to the grocery store and then I was in aisle 7 and then I noticed that the baking soda was really on sale. And then the next thing I did, when you put too much detail into something when you could just simply answer a question, it's a huge tell that you're being deceptive.
Like if someone said, where were you at 10:10? I was drinking a beer at Shibley's down the street. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And what's funny is being a cop too, this would make me crazy. And I'm sure my husband would, probably gets mad at me too. I'll say to him, what time do you want to leave on the boat? What time do you want to leave the dock? Well, first I have to get gas, then I have to do this, I'm like, I don't care what you have to do before that. What time do you want to leave? And then he would continue to tell me the things that he needs to do, which I don't care about. And that's specifically from being a police officer. And that's why you really shouldn't marry a police officer, because you both can't be like that at the same time. Or maybe you would know exactly what the other person was thinking. I don't know. But
my biggest pet peeve is getting in the car when you're going to go out to eat. And then they're like, where do you want to go? I'm like, I don't want to. I am tired of deciding. How about that?
Oh, I know. Just pick a place. Where do you want to go? I don't know. Where do you want to go? Where do you want to go? Where do you go?
Then it turns into, I'm like, I don't know. I don't care. Pick a place. And then the next question is, well, what are you in the mood for to eat?
And then you just, I don't even want to go now.
I'm like, I usually live like this. Anything but Italian.
Really?
I like pasta, but if I could choose between pasta and a well done steak, it's going to be a well done steak any day of the week.
I get that, but eggplant parm? I can't pass.
No.
Eggplant parm.
Alex just brought home an eggplant tonight.
Oh, Oh man, lobster raviolis. I went to Reno's in East Boston when I picked up one of my friends from the airport, and it was like $97. I had a glass of wine. She had a glass of wine. We each had a meal. $97.
Holy
I was
jeepers.
like, "Are you kidding me?"
For Italian food?
For Italian food.
You kidding me?
Yeah, and it was not. It was just a regular. Like I had a red blend. She had a Chablis. She had, I forget what she had. I had raviolis. I mean, it's almost like if you don't know if you're going to spend $100 on two people going to lunch, after coming back, right? It's East Boston. It's not Hanover Street.
On the North End.
Yeah, it's not the North End. It's not the Seaport. It's a neighborhood. And they only take cash. Thank God they had an ATM there.
Oh my gosh.
I know it's crazy, but I won't even go out to eat now unless it's a place that I've been to repeatedly because I don't want to spend the money and then be pissed because everything's so expensive. Like,
yeah,
10 years ago, you don't like something, you're like, okay, yeah, can I order something else? And normally the waiter or waitress will take it off your plate, off your bill, but it's just not worth it.
No.
Here's
the joy for me, which I know some will disagree, including our producer. But normally, a well done steak, the only way they can ruin that for me is if it's not cooked enough.
Me too.
Okay? Well, you can never go wrong with a well done steak unless it's not cooked enough. Now, when they want it rare and it comes out medium, who's all pissy about it?
Oh, right. I wanted it bleeding. I'm like, that's so disgusting that you even said it that way. So me and OG got married.
No, they want it still mooing.
Oh no, yeah. I can't even eat with somebody like that. Because I don't even want to see you put that in your mouth.
I can't put my steak on the same plate when they have all like the juices that are all like the nasty ass.
So my dad used to make fun of me because I didn't like if any of my food touched, but I would eat one thing at a time. So I'd eat the corn, and then I'd eat the mashed potatoes, and then I'd eat the chicken. Like I don't know, it's something that now of course I don't do that now because it would be weird. But yeah, you gotta have it, and I like a fillet. I don't care. I butterfly it, nice and well done. I like if it's a little crispy.
Yes.
And I like Worcestershire sauce with horseradish. Oh my God, my mouth's watering right now. So try this sometime. So you butterfly the steak, and then you put the broiler on, and then
you're cooking it for me when I come down next time.
Oh, I definitely will. Yeah, you say you're threatening to come down. So I take either blue cheese and mix it with a little breadcrumb so it's not really runny, and then I put that on the top. And just brown it. My mouth's so watering right now. Or I take horseradish and mix that with a little bit of breadcrumbs and some butter and put that on top after I've already Oh, it's so good. It's so good. You know what? Like
it sounds delicious.
Two fillets are like $40 now.
I know, but just think, we get 2 fillets because we butterfly.
I say what?
Because we butterfly it.
Oh man. So I was watching the Karen Reed trial the other day, and Chris Albert, who killed someone.
Yes, he's the select board member in Canton now, I believe. Or is he out? I can't remember.
So he killed somebody, I want to say in 90, maybe it was 95. I don't think he was 22 years old, but I'm guessing, okay, he was drunk because he fled the scene.
Yeah.
So what a scumbag. You flee the scene, you don't call 911.
And he doesn't turn himself in until, a week later?
Oh, I forget what it was. I just read it too, and I'm not really familiar on the time frame, and then he calls Karen Reed the defendant. I'm like, you're a felon, bitch. She could be a defense. Bitch, you're a felon.
Did he serve any time?
6 months.
Oh, wow. For killing somebody and taking off. How nice.
And taking off. So I thought it was really curious when he was like, the defendant. I mean, everybody else calls her Miss Reed or Karen Reed. Well, I don't know if they were coached to call her the defendant, but anybody who doesn't see through that, like, how about this? I put up a video on I can't remember if it was Turtle Boy Fans Only or Canton Confidential or our Facebook, and I shared it, whatever. But I said, Allie McCabe said Colin was not in the house at the same time as John. She actually said Colin was not at the house at the same time as John. So people have started to say, like, they're all getting like the vernacular. They're worried about, she didn't say at. She didn't say in, she said at. I said, okay, if someone says, where are you? You say, I'm at home. You don't say, I'm inside my house. So when she said Colin wasn't there at the same time as John, you could conceivably interpret that to be that John was at the house. Now, other people were saying, well, of course he was at the house. He was dead. If that was the case, she would have said that John was never at the house, period. She wouldn't have said Colin wasn't at the house.
And even if it's a specific type of vernacular, say for the New England area or whatever, because a lot of times, different areas, people call things different.
Like New Jersey.
It is one of the most common phrases, I'm at home.
I'm at home.
Or
which doesn't mean
I'm over at so-and-so's house. You know what I mean?
I'm inside, just for clarity.
I don't sit there and say, "Oh, I'm sitting in the kitchen," or I'll be like, "Oh, I'm at so-and-so's." That's it. I'm at a meeting. It's like, come on.
Right. And just to say that if someone's dropped off, okay, they're at the house. So are they saying that he was dropped off and he just walked around aimlessly?
Yeah.
In front of the house until he dropped?
She said, well, he was at the house. He wasn't in the house. He was dead on the lawn because that's where they threw him.
Well, exactly. But I mean, this is gross and this is terrible. But imagine had they put him in the back of the house. And then in the morning, of course, they would have had to clean up the whole scene because, see, they couldn't have even done that either because they didn't want anyone to do a search warrant of the house. I would still go into that house if they could.
Do you think that was one of the main specific reasons why they did not exit that house?
Well, it made them look guilty.
Well, no, but because they didn't end up cleaning up anything. Do you think that would be one of the main reasons why they did not exit the house? Because
I think they were up all
maybe
night.
One of the other officers that know them would have said, oh, dude, let's go in. It's cold.
No, I think they were up cleaning up all night.
Well, it doesn't matter if they were like cleaning it up because there still would have been evidence. But do you think that's why they didn't exit the house to even look to see what was going on?
No, I think they didn't exit because they're guilty as hell. Because no one at that point would have known that they were together.
Well, no, I guess I guess maybe I'm phrasing it wrong. Because they knew a lot of the people out there that would say, hey, I'm just going to come in and use your phone or do whatever because it's cold. They didn't want anybody to be able to come into the house. So if they didn't come out, no one could ask them to come in.
I don't know. If I was at a scene, I would never ask a police officer to go in his house. I would go, if I had to use the bathroom or something, I'd go down to Dunkin' Donuts.
But the difference is they're all Canton officers are all friends, remember? They all know each other. The chief of police, lived right across the street from him?
Yeah, I don't think that I would bring a crime scene into someone's house. What they should have done is knocked on everybody's door in that area. Exactly.
And gotten the cameras right then and there.
And gotten and woken everybody up. I mean, the guy's dead and you don't knock on anybody's door. You don't get anybody's ring cam footage. And in ring cam, my friend has ring cam, it goes into a cloud.
Oh, yeah.
It's, I'm just wondering, in Channel 4, I think, WBZ, I think they put out that there was ring cam footage, which there wasn't.
Or maybe there was.
Well, I mean, I'm just going by what is reported in the trial is that there never was any ring. I mean, I think there was ring cam footage. I mean, what are you going to shut your ring cam off because it's snowing outside? No.
Do you have a ring cam?
I'm not going to say what I have, but I do have a lot of security.
Okay, so let me ask you a question when it comes to this, right? Most police officers have security, correct?
Mm-hmm. Well,
okay.
Especially if you did what I did.
Well, okay, right. But wouldn't the chief of Canton Police, the former chief of Canton Police that lived across the street from him, wouldn't you think he'd have security ring cameras and stuff?
Of course he does.
Wouldn't you think someone that was tasked when he was with the Boston PD or still with the Boston PD of catching fugitives who could get out of jail and try and hunt you down, don't you think he'd have cameras?
Absolutely.
But yet they say they didn't have any cameras.
Yeah, it's
I
just
call bullshit.
It's too incredulous. It's way too incredulous to think that no one came out of it. I mean, I know cops. I was around cops, but basically, and military people my whole life. My uncle's a cop. You know what I mean? It's we have cops in the family. There's no way you're not going to go out there and be nosy, or you're going to say, oh, you're right. You know what? If there was a scene, I would offer, do you guys want to come in and have a cup of coffee or use the bathroom? But
especially if you know them, but
if they're innocent, right?
I mean, well, first of all, when you see all the things out there and you're a police officer, if you saw someone that was injured or saw the police and everything or fire, and they were around something that was on your front lawn, wouldn't you think you'd go running out to see if you could assist in some way?
In a heartbeat.
Yeah.
In a heartbeat. I mean, I don't have a doorbell. I don't have, and I don't have a doorbell. I don't have a door knocker. If you're not invited here where we live, you don't belong here. So even if someone comes up my driveway and I look at the camera and I see the plate, I know if that person is supposed to be in there, or not. And I'll go out and be like, who are you? What are you doing here?
Well, I'm sure you probably aren't going out just with yourself.
No. I'm packing heat, baby.
I'm always like, yep, hubby is going out with his good friend Glock.
Yep, exactly. Glock and Mr. Wesson.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that whole thing is, and it's kind of elevated.
Suspect. It's suspect.
Aiden Kearney too. But I just I don't want to hear let's F, I don't want to tune in to that. I mean, I think he is funny sometimes, but I think it's creepy when he says daddy wants to F. I'm like, ew, it's kind of yucky.
First of all, ew.
I know.
I mean,
just some of it's kind of yucky, but I mean, when you think about it, I mean,
let me put it to you this way: the only person that should ever say anything like this to me, like "come to daddy," is my father. Okay, when I was little.
It's so gross. Come to daddy.
I mean, I don't think anybody should ever say "come to daddy" because I'm kind of like, that's a little weird.
I always thought that was weird too, with Puff Daddy. Well, we know he,
Well, yeah. Oh, I mean, let's talk about that. Did you see the video of that?
No.
Sean Combs' video of him literally, I mean, the punch, and then to the girlfriend in front of the hotel that the hotel cameras got, and the fact that he was dragging her literally by her hair. He kicked her while she was down on the ground twice. It was appalling. It was disgusting.
And then she went back to him the next day?
Probably. And then, she got the settlement, whatever, and someone leaked the video. But when you look at that video, I'm like, oh my God. And this is, and he's not the first one. I mean, you have Chris Brown when he, gave Rihanna the fat lip and the, right before the Grammys, when they were dating. I mean, people don't realize the prevalence of domestic violence, and because obviously they like the lifestyle, they become, I will call it, professional victim. I mean, she finally left him, but how long? What did it take? Was he going to kill her?
Well, it's professional ghetto.
Yeah.
So you get these guys that they're talented in sports, and there's not many people. Well, I mean, I guess there are. You can't really be a quarterback and be stupid. But when your physical ability outruns your academic or social or communicative abilities to be in a relationship with people, and then you give them a lot of money, you're just ghetto mean with money. And so, like I say, really ignorant ghetto people are just as bad as really rich, ignorant people, and the only difference is the vocabulary.
Oh, and that's a very true statement. It's a very true statement. And you have to ask, why would a woman continue to stay knowing that she's a punching bag?
Because she's always been a punching bag, and if she wasn't pretty, she wouldn't be in the position at all. None of these guys. I mean, look at Mike Tyson with Robin Givens.
Oh, yes, that's right.
He's like, I can't say my S's and shit. Can't say no S's.
But he can sure like beat the shit out of her.
Oh yeah, but I mean, look at how many times have I found the wife finds naked pictures on her husband's phone of a 12-year-old and a picture of her sister's face on a naked body. And she said, turns him into the police. And she's like, I'm going to divorce him. I'm going to get a 209A. And then a month later, he's babysitting their 12 and 14-year-old all by himself. It's, I don't know what would make a woman not want to protect her children. So these women would be in these abusive relationships and then eventually bring children in. Of course, if the guy beats you when you're not pregnant, he's going to beat you when you're pregnant, and then he's going to beat the kid. So, if I was the NFL, I would assign, they make so much money.
I mean, keep in mind, though, that Sean Combs, the Puff Daddy, whatever, he was a musician. Chris Brown was a musician. They're producers. They're bigwigs in the music industry.
Oh, right. But the NFL is notorious.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
I mean, we praise, these people want to be role models, if you will, they're an imaginary role model. And then you look at like the kicker of the Kansas City Chiefs, who, basically said that he thought it was wonderful that women, find fulfillment in their careers, and that, he was thrilled that like his wife found fulfillment in, being married and being a mother, as, because he's very much Catholic, whatever, and didn't degrade women for their decisions or anything like that. He's been attacked left and right.
Right.
But the funny part of it is they said that
doesn't want a woman who's a good wife and a good mother, whether she has a job or not. So why is the fact that she is purely focusing on her family? And obviously, when you have a lot of money, you can have a parent at home. I mean, things have gotten so expensive that almost in every household, both parents work. I mean, I remember one quote friend said to me once, well, I didn't have children to have somebody else raise them. I was like, listen, first of all, I never expected to have children. Second of all, I have a career, not a job that I'm invested in. But I didn't like the judgment because someone else wasn't raising my kids. Someone else was watching my kids and made sure that they didn't catch on fire or die while I was at work. And for 8 hours, they were without me.
Yeah.
So I didn't have children to have somebody else raise them. There's a lot of judgment that goes on with women. And I think it's great that, if that's what you want to do, and that's your joy and that's what fulfills you. I mean, I know a ton of people that went to Boston College for business management and then got a master's degree, and then 3 years later got married and had 4 kids. But that doesn't mean it was a waste of her education. She went on a sports scholarship. But I mean,
no, because
now you have an educated mother that can help raise your kids. And
there are those who are very nurturing, very, love the concept of family. There are those who are not domestic goddesses, but their kids managed to survive until they were 35 and 25. with the help of my husband.
Is he the one who cooks?
He does most of the cooking, because unless he doesn't like, as he says, he doesn't like his food on the crisp side, which is what he will get when I cook.
I always order everything extra crispy. Let's see, what else is in the news?
Oh, there's so much in the news right now. I mean, let's talk about, for example, Biden just came out with his grand old budget, that he wants to do the unrealized gains on, people that are filing as, sole proprietor or whatever, the unrealized gains on profit. You can't
You know,
tax unrealized gains on a profit that you don't know you're going to make.
well, it's what it is just reaching into everybody's pocket. And the people who make bazillions of dollars know how to manipulate that. And when people say, oh, Trump doesn't pay taxes, then change the tax law. I wish I had enough money to not pay taxes. I remember one year, OG had a really good year. And I think it was when we were first married, I think I made $70,000 or $80,000 that year. And that's what we paid in taxes. And I think I cried for 2 weeks. I really did. Because even though, there's not a divvying of the money, but it just happened to be the amount that I made, we were taxed. And I started to cry. I was like, are you serious? So I bust my ass working. And then I basically, and because he had a good year, which is up and down when you're on 100% commission, I just felt like that whole year, that $80,000, that's why I get pissed. And I'm like, people are like, oh, the federal government will do it. I'm like, that's your money too.
Oh, I know.
Oh, we'll get the feds to pay for it, but that's your money. It's upsetting the amount when you get, I always wanted to do this, and maybe somebody out there will do it. Like, I wanted to take, say just $100,000, say you make $100,000 a year. You're taxed on the $100,000 a year. So you're already taxed on the money that you brought in. Now you're taxed again on the money that you pay for your mortgage. Then you're taxed again for the money that you pay for excise tax. Then you're taxed again on everything that you buy.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you're triple, quadruple taxed. And now I think Orleans, to raise money, is talking about, adding other additional taxes. It's just, for what you actually get from government, it's not what you pay out.
No, not at all. And then the worst part is when you have these politicians in Washington, as they, discuss the budget, and they put those funky dunky little earmarks back in, and, they're spending millions and millions of dollars on these earmarks that are useless. I mean, one of them, I love how Rand Paul took it over. I can't remember who used to do it before, the most wasteful spending. I think it was somebody out of Texas that was doing it, a House member. But Rand Paul took it over, and I'll never forget when I read for example, it was, I think, $750,000 to study a snail's sleeping habits.
Right.
What the fuck? Excuse my French.
That's like, my friend needs money, like the $6 million.
The worst one was this one was I think one was I think it was $8 million, was a study on why lesbians weigh more than others.
Do they?
I don't know, but that was what the study was. They actually paid that study out to some freaking college or something like that to do the study. I'm like, are you kidding me?
And what's the benefit?
Exactly.
What's the benefit? I don't. But what makes me
well, I mean, hey, did Julian Sear sit there and did they pay out money to find out why transgenders should not have to pay for hair surgery for their legs?
Oh, why and why women can't get it? What about parity? What about equality? What about equity? Why can't I get laser hair treatment for free?
Yeah, exactly. They just don't realize what they're doing is, and by adding another class, right? And this is where he is foolish by trying to push this through, because anybody that would appeal this could appeal it under the equal opportunity, because they are denying women the same rights that men now have to get the free laser surgery. I mean,
right.
There's no way that would pass. I mean, did it ever pass? Because if so, we need to sit there and get the class action lawsuit and file against them.
It's just ridiculous. The things that bother me are the stupid things, like putting tampons in the men's bathroom.
Yes.
Oh, this is best.
on.
Okay, this is the best. A friend of mine goes to New England Law School. All right. The men's bathroom is strictly the men's bathroom, but the women's bathroom is a gender neutral bathroom in a frickin' law school. The men have their own bathroom, but the women's bathroom is a gender neutral bathroom.
How
So
is that possible?
at a law school, at a New England School of Law.
How is that possible?
Ridiculous thing you have ever heard at a law school. A law school.
I mean, maybe they need to sit there and check and see if there's tampons in the men's room.
But what they're doing is, we've talked about this before. In order for crime to happen, you have to have a motivated offender, absent a guardian, and oh my God, what's the third one?
You should know this by heart. I should know this by heart.
Opportunity, right? So they're providing the opportunity and the location. All they need is a victim. So they're giving them 2 out of 3.
Yeah, at a law school.
Right, in law school for the women. So
I say we go to the law school and try to use the men's room.
Right. Well, I mean, how many times have we done that when we were 22?
Oh my hell, yeah, at concerts and stuff like that. I used to walk right in there and I'd be like, guys, you see one, you see them all. Don't worry about it.
I know you did.
We just want the stall.
Remember when you were 18 or like 21 or whatever, and you could go out drinking with your friends until like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, sleep for like 2 hours, and then work full 8 hours, and then do it again.
Yes. If I tried to do that now, I would be in bed for a week.
I would look like, what's Brian Albert's wife's name?
Oh, I have no idea. Carrie? No.
I don't know either, but you'd probably look like
Jennifer?
her. I don't know.
No, it's McCabe.
But how about Yannetti? He kept saying, of course. Now, I think it's part of his vernacular. I don't think he was saying, of course, to be flippant. And then the judge says to him, Mr. Yannetti, enough of the of course. And he goes,
Now,
of course.
who is Yannetti? Is he for Karen Reed's attorney?
Yes.
Or is he?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh my God, yeah, he's awesome. But what I don't like about lawyers or the vernacular to speak is like in reference to, relevant to, is your best recollection. Like, why can't you say, do you remember? It's just like the vernacular kind of bothers me. I somehow find it annoying, maybe because I've sit in so many trials, but I find it annoying. I'm gonna what does he say? I'm gonna call your attention to the day of blah blah blah. How about what were you doing on January 26th? Like
obviously not writing up a report that should have been.
Right? Like, all the words are qualifiers for what's going to happen next for an obvious question.
Yes.
But yeah, in God, guys, if you are losing your hair and you have just a tiny bit of hair on the top and really high and sparse, shave that shit. Just shave it. Just come to terms with the fact that you don't have hair there because it looks so bad.
My dad used to have
the trial. Lally
do you remember Kevin White, the former mayor of Boston?
Yes.
Do you remember how his part on his head started about 4 inches above his ear, and by the end of his when he finally finished, it was below his ear, the part. It was and my dad had the comb over, and we'd be like, Dad, seriously? And my father actually now does shave the whole thing off.
It's and bad tupes are the worst too.
Oh my God!
And they just strut around they look like Elvis, like fat Elvis with the dark hair, and then in the back you can see where the gray is. I'm like, at least if you're gonna wear a tube, spend the dough.
What is it? Is it Bosley's Hair Club for Men or something like that? I can't remember what it used to be.
Yes. Remember the commercials?
Yep. Hair Club for Men.
Yeah, and I don't know when guys started totally shaving all their heads. It's like someone would say like, oh, well, he's on the what does he look like? I'm like, he looks like all of them. Tall, fat, well, not all fat, and bald. Tall, white, and bald. Well, not all tall, but definitely white and bald. I think like 97% of the state troopers are men now.
Oh, in the Mass State Troopers?
Yes.
But here's the difference, okay? Back in the day when you were on there, you knew your Mass State Troopers, a lot of them were very tall, very built, and very handsome. And that's not the case anymore.
No, you know, Rhode Island used to have a height requirement, and I'll never forget. I'm sorry, short men just get the short end of the stick. I mean, they could be brilliant in, you know, look at some dummies that are like big and tall and look like Gomer Pyle and they get elected to office and people think that they're smart. So height with men is highly discriminating. You know, I think guys in college that are tall can kind of rip it up a lot more than the guy that's like 5'5", 5'6". I lost my train of thought because I was thinking, oh, I know. When you said the handsome troopers, I was kind of counting all the tall, handsome troopers that I might have known. But I never dated any troopers, so I didn't want to ever bump into somebody at like training or something and have them know anything about me because that's weird.
Yeah.
But driving in Rhode Island, and I literally did a double take, and I said, that guy can't be any more than 5'2". It was definitely a man. In Rhode Island, you used to have to be like over 6 feet tall. The same thing with the state police, over 6 feet tall of good moral character. Whatever that means.
And this guy was 5'2"?
I guess that means like you don't frame people for murder when you're an investigator in the state police.
That's pretty good.
How about this? If it wasn't for Turtle Boy,
or you don't sit there and, you know, pay the DMV to give fake CDL licenses.
I know. I mean, you know, we don't catch the smart ones.
No,
you know?
No. I mean, no.
It's crazy. I don't know.
I have to ask, were they former MDC police officers? Let's just put that right up there.
Which ones?
The ones that have all gotten busted for all the stupid things, or they sexually harassed other officers. They were usually probably the MDC ones.
I talked to somebody the other day, and you know, eventually, if you hang around in the state police long enough, you get promoted, and that's basically what it is. Is the women are like, I'm out of here. I'm going to go have a life somewhere, and the guy's like, I'm going to stay here till I'm colonel. I don't care if I'm 400 pounds and I'm going to have a stroke, but I'm going to stay here until I'm colonel. So when he told me who was, you know, the station commander at different places, I was like, that guy shot himself in the leg, taking his shotgun out of his cruiser, and he's now a station commander? Are you kidding me? It's almost embarrassing to.
Well, that's because they got rid of the state troopers back with COVID. That would have probably been the ones that would have been good station commanders.
I don't know. I just think there's no quality control, and it's all, if you take the test and pass, you could be number 50 on the test and you get promoted. People think that it is on merit, but it's really on what you can memorize and what you can regurgitate and who's going to tell you the answers to the test. You know, there was this one question when I took the captain's test, I think, and it was like one question, but it had 10 parts to it. And I came out of there and I was like, you got to be kidding me. And one of the guys was like, oh, like 5 of the guys who are all friends with the people who make the test are like, oh, I just happened to look at that last night. I'm like, the hell you did? No, you didn't. Because one question can move you 14 points. So you could be, you know, number 5 and you get one question wrong and now you can be number 20 because it's literally like, you know, 98.01, 98.001.
I just thought reading, you know, the Kerry Gilpin, who was one of those ones that went from lieutenant and then 3 years later obviously passed the captain's exam and goes to captain, and then goes in a 3-year period from captain to major to colonel in a 2-year period. Unheard of.
Yeah, well, that's because she was a fixer. You know, she was
She was a kiss ass. Well, they used her. They used her inexperience, and boy, let me tell you something. Okay.
Yeah.
If she even ever attempted to apply as a police officer in the department that when we do the interviews, and I looked at her qualifications and what she said she did, she wouldn't have a chance in hell of being hired. I have experience interviewing people. I video recorded the people that were actually doing the interviews.
No, how about this? I watched the people record the interviews while they were interviewing. Right? So
Exactly. And that's why I'm experienced at this. I was like, are you freaking kidding me?
the fact that the state police put someone as a colonel that has
You hear any hissing? Don't worry, I got a stare down going on with my cats right now, and they're growling, and there might be some brawling happening in a minute.
that has never investigated a significant criminal case,
Ever.
never been a case officer in a murder, never investigated
pictures.
Never even supervised more than like 5 people.
Here's the thing. Have you ever been deposed? Maybe once. In your 27-year career, you've only been deposed once? Well, that says a lot.
How about this? What standard of proof did you use to determine someone's credibility? I don't know what you mean. He goes, well, you do understand standards of proof, correct? She's like, I don't know what you mean. He goes, well, you know what beyond a reasonable doubt is, correct? Oh, yeah, I've heard of that. And do you know what a fresh complaint witness is? No, I've never heard of that. You've never heard of that? No, I've never heard of it.
I literally was like, I was floored. I was absolutely floored to the point where I had to sit there and, text, the chief of my department and say, do you know what a fresh complaint or a first complaint was? And he was like, bing, 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 bing. Exactly.
Right?
And I'm like, would you believe it if I told you that someone that was the former colonel of the Mass State Police did not know what it was? And he was like, I wish I could tell you I was surprised. He goes, but it's the Mass State Police.
She didn't even know what other standard of proof are you aware of?
I mean, the gross. I mean, the fact that I was literally like floored reading this. I was like, you have no idea. Well, you know what? I have notes. Let's just put it that way. I have notes, and the last note ended with WTF! Exclamation, exclamation, exclamation.
If anything, what we're talking about is my sexual harassment trial is to be in Suffolk Superior Court on June 10th. So obviously, I've been prepping and reading some of the transcripts from 9 years ago. So what the state
I'm reading them right along with her.
Right. So what the state police tries to do is they just wait you out. Now, the other the lieutenant that sexually harassed me, Kevin Buckley, his contention is I made the whole thing up. After 23 years in the state police and working 15 years in the detective unit and 10 years undercover, I just decided to make shit up because to put myself through all that aggravation. Just to make so the lawyer says, well, what don't you agree with? I obviously had a witness or that I told what happened. And he says, well, it doesn't matter what she says. It's hearsay. She's a third party. Like, are you seriously don't know what a fresh complaint witness is as a lieutenant? Granted, he's not a full trooper or whatever, but I mean, he was on the NDC and he was on Chelsea before that. I'd love to know what the hell happened, how he got kicked off, if he got kicked out of Chelsea, but whatever. But you
realize the question that he was asked. Have you ever interviewed have you ever done an interview with a victim of sexual assault? Well, yeah, maybe once. When I think he said Revere or Chelsea, and it was a homeless person. Well, that's his entire experience.
What's the relevance of the person being homeless?
Exactly.
So raped homeless people don't matter? I don't get it, right? Have you ever investigated a sexual assault? Yeah, only a homeless person. But what is it?
Well, I mean, he had one up on Gilpin. She never even had interviewed one.
Oh, but he didn't even know that the fresh complaint witness gives someone immediate credibility.
Yes.
It's just amazing to me that, and then you get somebody like that who really doesn't, they only know how to do details. And then if I say to someone like, oh, you need to, you're missing the elements there. You got to make sure that you put the elements in. Now I'm like, I don't know. Somehow they get mad that I know that and they didn't know that, but I wasn't like doing it on purpose. It's my job to know that.
I love the fact that his lawyer got kind of like creeped out because you said you went to the body side. It's like, hello.
Yeah, Timmy Burke, he knows what the body side is, But it's just, it makes me mad because I loved my job on the state police. But once you take a step back from it and, and what was done to me and what was done to a lot of
Others.
women, there's harassment too and favoritism and whatever, just like anything
Oh
else.
my God, that you can tell that. That's like blatant.
But there's just some out and out like criminal dudes on the state police. I mean, if so Michael Proctor, Karen Reed is the quote defendant. She's the one that's being framed. And Michael Proctor, who is the detective, who is somehow involved in the, alleged people that we think murdered John O'Keefe, he texts his buddies, hey, I'm looking through Karen Reed's phone. I'm looking for some naked selfies. I hope she dies of cancer or gets hit by a bus or whatever. And that guy is still on the job. Now, I helped a rape victim who was raped by her father her whole life and came into the barracks for help. She was pregnant, not with her father's baby, thank God, but he had just gotten out of prison and was telling her to kill herself. So someone from Western Mass, a trooper, said, hey, can you ID this girl? She believes that she has a lifetime 209A against her father, and he's been driving around her house and texting her, and, I hope you kill yourself. So she started to cry, so I brought her upstairs. So because I brought her upstairs, I got disciplined for helping a rape victim. Yet this guy can say to all his buddies that he's looking for naked pictures of a defendant who's fighting for her life in a murder trial and say that he hopes that she dies. Yet here I am 9 years later saying, no, my boss talked to me about his flaccid or erect penis and I stand by it for 9 years.
Oh, you said it. I hate that word.
Flaccid?
That's what I used to call the guy Joe Flacco, the one that was the quarterback for one of the football teams. I always called him Joe Flaccid.
Was he the really religious one?
No, I don't know I don't know if he's religious or not. I have no idea. But I called him Joe Flaccid because how can you have a last name like Flacco and not say Flaccid?
I don't know. I don't think I would have put those two together unless he was short. So I don't know if I told you, but I got a letter about Sheriff Donna Buckley, and it said that she went down to North Carolina with her husband Troy riding shotgun.
Yes.
And that he was using that he uses his sober living credit card everywhere they go. Their nonprofit that they allegedly donated money to their daughter, wrote a check for their daughter out of this sober living foundation, public charity, which I would think is, might be a little bit illegal, and took the sheriff's vehicle allegedly to North Carolina, in that he was driving it. They went down to visit their grandkids. So people are still calling us and, telling us things that are going on there. And if you remember that Lieutenant Don Arthurs,
yes,
that called the other girls sluts and camel toes, and apparently right after she did that, she was rewarded with an all expense paid trip to Las Vegas. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, baby.
I mean, it obviously when you're a lieutenant and you're good friends with the human resources who's, tasked with investigating these things, well, you might still be rewarded and have that trip to Las Vegas. Especially when you have a sheriff that says, I don't want to hear about it, fix it.
How about the fact that you have twins by the guy that you work with and tried to pass it off to your husband that they were his kids? That's kind of messed up.
She sounds like a special kind of person.
Very special.
Yeah.
But what does it do to morale?
It basically you're going to lose people, and it's the same theory when you eat at a restaurant, right? You eat at a restaurant, you have a bad meal, you tell 11 friends. You eat at a restaurant, you have a great meal, you might tell 3 or 4 friends. Okay? It's those 11 people that don't have a vested interest that are going to go run out and say, and by rights, that this is how this lieutenant treats everybody. Why would you want to work there? Don't bother to ever apply.
But you know what's bizarro is, from what I have heard, she's, was in a classroom before this happened, and she was an instructor at their academy. And I don't know what they were doing. I don't know if it was, I don't know what it was, defensive tactics or whatever. She actually said to the whole class, "Don't worry about squishing my chest because I paid extra for these so they don't pop." That is inappropriate.
Oh my goodness, yes.
And I think men don't want to report it because
but men did report it, and it still was
didn't report
shoved
this
under the table.
that incident. They did report, other men did report her calling them sluts in front of inmates.
And where did it go? Nowhere. So
Nowhere.
obviously 7 people apparently lied about this one lieutenant.
Yeah, well,
7 people, 7 different people.
We all lie, right? We all lie.
Apparently.
I was trying to supervise her, and that's why she accused me of
I
sexual.
was trying to tell her that her pants were too tight in front of inmates and other staff, maybe not inmates, but in front of other staff. And, I had to give her a reason, like how they were too tight.
Well,
really? How about pulling me aside and saying, I think your pants were a little snug. You might want to sit there and either, get another size or, whatever.
Right. And you have to even be really careful about how you say that, because commenting on you want to talk about the uniform, not the body. Okay. Yes. So if she had just said, listen, and then they're going to be like, okay, well, if you have somebody who's a ball buster, like, okay, well, what's the standard for tightness of the uniform? You know what I mean? You get people that do stuff like that. So it's totally inappropriate to be like, hey, camel toe, or a bunch of them are eating lunch and she's like, hey, oh, you're sitting with the sluts. Like, that's inappropriate. And the men who don't report that she did that are tacitly accepting of sexual harassment.
Right.
Like, I'm gonna say a swear word, but when I don't know if I've said this before, when I was first went into narcotics, it was like 8:00 in the morning, and one of the guys walked up to me, and I don't know if he was trying to bust my balls or whatever, but he liked girls that were, a little heavy, and I wasn't at the time. And he looked me up and down. He's like, I don't know if I want to feed you or fuck you. And I was like, you're getting a lunch order? I'll take an Italian, no hots, toasted, don't fuck it up. And I walked away laughing. So it was 8:00 in the morning. So he was testing my boundaries, and I told him where my boundaries were, but I did it without embarrassing him. I did it without running to my lieutenant to be a tittle tattle. I mean, you don't work in an all male. Nobody wants to report anything as a female. You go along to get along. Another guy said to me, I was stretching, and he goes, what are you doing? I said, I'm stretching my piriformis. He goes, is that in your vagina? I go, that's funny, but you can't ever say that again. Like, we're still friends to this day. But I was like, my vagina is off topic. Okay. There's one thing about pushing up against boundaries, and there's another thing about totally breaking through them. And, and he laughed, and he knew it was highly inappropriate.
Yeah.
But if you allow that, you don't have a self-worth. And that's why I continued for 9 years to fight this fight, is because he's calling me a liar. He's saying that I made it up. I didn't get any support for the people that in leadership that were told, even people who knew about it. And it's the same reason why we expose corruption. If the people at the sheriff's department aren't allowed to say it, then, we will say it for them. Exactly. It's wrong what's going on there. You cannot turn... If you go in there as an alcoholic, you should not be put on Suboxone.
No.
Suboxone is a highly addictive drug. It's just, And I hear that, just rumor, of course, that Plymouth wants to take over for Barnstable. Well, wouldn't that make a great immigrant shelter? Because they're turning the what's the shelter that they was it MCI Concord? Oh, I have to look it up. Where the jail that they just made a shelter. Did you know that?
I read about that.
I think it's hysterical because in one point everybody's yelling about you can't put children in cages, and now they're opening up a jail and putting people in it.
And the people, they didn't even let the local town officials know that that's what the state was planning on doing.
Oh, it's Norfolk County. So
whatever town it's in, located.
I'm going to look it up right now because it's in a nice town, and they aren't going to be happy. Is it MCI Norfolk that they made?
Yeah, I think it is.
Yes. Okay, here it is. Norfolk town officials surprised, caught off guard by state's plan to use the mass prison as homeless housing. Officials say they're not involved in the state's plan to convert a closed prison into an emergency shelter for families with children. Like, listen, it's not an emergency when you invited them here. You knew they were coming. It's not an emergency. But what's happening to all these kids?
Exactly.
Like, these poor kids, like these kids in school, if they get accused of something and there's a Title IX investigation, then they need a translator. And nobody records anything, and they ask the wrong questions. So you're potentially labeling or having someone make statements against their self-interest at age 5 or 6. And the schools are, they always want to protect, they want to get involved in the social issues, they want to take on everything. And now that they have taken on everything, they're crumbling.
Oh, true words. And we talk about, of course, great segue into talking about the migrant crisis going on in the schools as well.
Well, exactly. So you have these kids, as an example, there was in Kingston, Caitlin Hutchinson is in Kingston, and she spoke in front of the school committee to the superintendent and the vice principal, I believe, of Kingston Elementary School. And she said, my daughter was assaulted in 2022 when an immigrant girl came under the stall while my daughter was urinating. Her pants were down. She kissed her, kicked her, pulled her out of the stall, threw her on the floor, kicked her and kissed her again. And when the girl went to school again, the mother called and said, hey, Caitlin Hutchinson called and said, I want to make sure that my daughter's not in the same classroom as this girl. She was in the same classroom with the same girl. And then that girl attacked her 2 more times. And then her other daughter, who had turned 5, the first daughter was 5 when she was attacked. The second daughter was 5 when a boy peeked under the stall at her in the bathroom that the kindergarten allows boys and girls to use at the same time. Even after this happened, the school is still saying, we're going to let boys and girls use the same bathroom at the same time. How about you get those stalls that are, like when you go to a really nice hotel or, what's that restaurant that has absolutely everything that's in the South Shore Plaza? Cheesecake Factory.
Oh, yes.
Each bathroom is an individual stall where nobody can peek underneath. All they had to do was fix the doors in the bathroom. That's it. That's all you have to do. It's not a big thing. I mean, it's common sense. And like, well, we can't possibly move the girl without. I go, she indecently assaulted another girl, and you kept her in the same classroom. It's so, I mean, it's unheard of. These people are not equipped to be investigating. I mean, how could you be a teacher and a counselor and an empathizer and a budget person, and to deal with parents and to do investigations at the same time? It's just, nothing gets done correctly. And even teachers I've talked to, not just in Kingston, but they say that there's so many kids that don't speak English that it takes away from the kids that are trying to learn. So everybody is failing.
And
We're at Newton North. You had 3 different classes. You had like the low level, the kids that like smoked pot and got in trouble and got arrested, and whatever. And then you had it was separated, but if you were motivated, you wanted to move up to the next. I forgot what we called it, like 1, 2, 3, or whatever the heck it was. But now they want to, for equity and inclusion, they put everybody together, which lowers the bar for everybody.
That's they call that heterogeneous teaching. Homogeneous teaching is when you split it out, like so heterogeneous teaching is your differentiated teaching, where they try to teach everybody in the same classroom.
Like Little House on the Prairie?
Yes.
Like in one
Homogeneous is when you have your honors classes, you have your college prep classes, and you have your basic classes, whatever. And some kids, to me, differentiated teaching is you have to have a truly gifted teacher that can differentiate in teaching.
Well, and
not all teachers are good at it, because here's the issue. When you go into one of the things that they did when it came to No Child Left Behind is they put requirements out that I think grades, say 8 to 12 or 7 to 12, you had to be certified to be able to teach those classes, because what they were trying to do was, back in the day, you could have an Italian teacher teaching your English class, and that's not what you want. You want someone that was certified to have the ability to teach that science class or teach this class or teach that class, and that was the one positive of No Child Left Behind. The other, aspects was where teachers started teaching to the test, and that's where the breakdown of the classroom came in, because you can't teach to the test. So instead of them teaching the kids so the kids are actually learning and then, being tested, what they were doing is they were teaching the kids, they'd get the summer off, and then the first 8 weeks or so, or 9 weeks or so of classes were a refresher of what you learned the previous year, because you had a test coming up. So you lost 3 months of classroom learning every single year.
I liked, I went to U Lowell for plastics engineering, and I loved this. And if I was a teacher, this is how I would teach. Engineering is extremely complex, right? And I had this materials class, which plastics has. You can put different additives into plastic if you want tensile strength, if you want impact resistance. And it's, I gotta let my cat out. He's making me crazy.
Sniper.
It was those composition books, those blue composition books.
Yes.
So what he would do is once a week, he would have a surprise quiz, which would be on, the days previous. And every, 1 week was done, and then the next week. So he wouldn't reach back 5 weeks to give you a quiz. And it was 4 questions, and you answer the 4 questions, and that was it. And there was no final. And it made you study that week's work to learn it, because you didn't know what the questions were going to be, and you retained the information rather than having 10 tests that have 15 questions to it that aren't really, some of it's not really relevant to the real world. And I just loved that, and I think that's how I would do it. Not just when you ask people to regurgitate stuff, it's like you're testing who has a better memory. It's not me right now.
Let's not be talking about me.
Right. So, have you ever done this? You're like downstairs and you're like, oh, I gotta go upstairs and get a brush. And then you walk up the stairs and you're like, what was I doing up here? And then you go back downstairs and you remember for a second that you were going to get the brush, and then you go back upstairs, and it's like you become stupid as soon as you hit a second floor. And you're like, what the hell was I?
You know, I used to be like, because my mom would always say, go back and retrace your steps. I'm
I hate
sure
that.
it'll come back to you.
If I freaking knew that, I wouldn't have lost it. It's just, I hate that. Where'd you
Yeah,
last
well, the
see?
problem is I might remember it at 3:00 in the morning. And I'd be
When I
like,
wake up at 3 and I
damn it, I meant to order that. What the hell? It's awful. I've literally done that. I've woken up at 3:00 in the morning. I mean, I have to tell you, I have been, don't ask why I'm doing this. I have been watching Dark Shadows, the original years, whatever. It's in 1966 right now, which was the year we were born.
Yeah. Is it a
And I can tell you, roast beef sandwiches were only 45 cents.
Oh, you know what? You said Dark Shadows. I was like flipping through. I thought you said Dark Waters.
No, Dark Shadows.
Oh,
All
okay.
right. So it's in black and white right now, and there's like 600 episodes. I'm only on 81.
Is it? Do they talk? Do they talk like the Twilight Zone? Like,
I haven't gotten to the vampire. Don't you remember Barnabas Collins?
no. Did I date him, or is that a show?
No, it says he was a vampire in this show. This was a soap opera that was on at like 12 noon in 1966. I can understand why all the people that were like my mom would watch it all the time. My grandmother would watch it all the time, and my mom would say, don't watch it with the kids." And of course, my grandmother, we'd watch it, and we'd be like vampires. And then that's the whole reason when I was 8 or 9 years old, I had to have my silver knife, and I had to have my cross because our parents used to leave us by ourselves when we were like 8 or 9. They didn't care. They'd go out for like hours. And I'd have like my little stash in case I got attacked by a vampire or a werewolf or a ghost.
Well, when you say that, all those women they used to watch their soap operas or whatever.
Yeah.
So when this DNA, when Ancestry.com came out and ruined every woman's secret.
Oh yeah.
I didn't know people were like banging the like scoring people while their husband was at work. Like I couldn't even imagine doing that.
It's the milkman's kid a whole new meaning.
But then to pass that kid off as your husband's child and knowing that whole time that it's a lie, and then all of a sudden you're 80 and you get, Ma, you had an affair with Dad's brother, and my cousin's my brother, and she denies it. And then finally, right before she dies, she's like, I did bang your uncle.
I mean, listen, that happened to a friend of mine where he, found out that I helped him find his family. And now he's very close to all of his first cousins, and unfortunately his father passed away in 1987, but he was able to meet two of his aunts. One just passed away in the past few months, but they absolutely adored him. I guess when he walked around the corner, because obviously they weren't sure if he was actually who he was, other than I traced the whole family back. I knew exactly who he was. And he walked around the corner and they took one look at him and they said, that's my brother's son. Because he didn't have any kids. Their brother had adopted two children, and they didn't think he had any natural kids whatsoever. And he did.
Cool. That's like if you're in Dorchester or Quincy or any inner city, right? And everything is so close, so I mean, really close. If you have an argument, the people upstairs, downstairs, next door, on either side of you can hear it. But when someone had, how you see like a family and they all have really strong characteristics, like you're like, that's definitely a Jordan. That's definitely a Jordan. That's definitely a Smith.
Yeah.
I mean, like they have really strong features. And then all of a sudden you have a kid that grows up to look just like the neighbor's kid who's the same age, and they could be brothers. It's too uncanny. One of my children's friends has a friend that looks just like him, and they lived in the same neighborhood in Boston. And I'm like, they're definitely related. There's no way you couldn't look at all three of my kids and say that they're related. So there's some.
You couldn't look at my two girls and not know that they're.
There's like some funky town going on. I mean, you can imagine like your husband's going on. You're like, yay, he's gone.
And
Now
here comes the
married,
milkman.
boyfriend come over. Oh, I don't know. And of course, they like everybody smoked back then. I see pictures of my mother like pregnant with smoking a butt with a glass of wine in her hand. It's just, and everybody else turned out okay. But then you get friends that are like, I'm pregnant, I can't eat lunch meat. I'm like, you know what? Bite me.
They seem to forget that, we we all survived. Our kids survived. I mean, when Renee was born, babies were supposed to only sleep on their back. Do not let them sleep on their stomach. When Gabby was born, they can only
Choke.
sleep on their side.
Turn
Period. They
blue.
will like die. And it's like, okay, which is it?
I put all my kids on their side and then I propped them up with a little dish towel because when the very first time I took a nap, my twins were 6 weeks old and Steve came upstairs and was holding Chris. And when he's like holding the baby, coming up to my room and says, everything's fine. I know nothing's fine. He goes, the ambulance is on his way. And of course, I jumped up and I'm like, what time did you call the ambulance? And he was blue. He was on his back. He threw up. When the throw up came up and then gravity brought it back down, it took his tongue with it and it sealed off the back of his throat and his nose because the puke was there. So he couldn't breathe and he turned blue. He's perfectly fine today. But I never napped after that and I never put my kids on the back.
But you see how it changes. Like when I had for Gabby, they actually had the side sleeper like that you could put her right in between, so like it would hold her in place. She couldn't roll either way. She was on her side because I like got that, and look at the slats of the cribs, how wide they used to be when we were young versus
You
what
put your
they
legs
have
right.
them now. I mean,
Remember the sides used to come up and down?
yes.
How dangerous is that?
Well, I mean, I still have the side. Yeah, when you think about it, but I mean, her crib was the type where it converted into like the little toddler bed too. So
I remember when I at first had Kyle, we had just moved into this house when she was like 6 months old. So I'd put her in a crib and I'd pat her little bum, and pat her bum and I'd think she's just asleep. And I'd be walking out of it's so stupid. I think about it now, walking out of the room backwards and she'd be like, pat my bum. I'd be patting her bum then when I had the twins, I literally put their cribs in the room, but I put it apart so that they couldn't touch each other. And it was like a prison riot because I watched it on the monitor. Chris had like 5 binkies. Shane didn't really like binkies, but they would throw their stuffies at each other, and then they would jump up and down. And then when they were done jumping up and down, they would lay on their back and kick the crib so it would smash into the wall. And it would be like boom, 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 laughing their heads off the whole time. And then maybe they'd cry for 10 minutes, and then they were asleep because I wasn't going in there. Because as soon as you do that, one's going to be asleep, one's going to be awake, and then you're up all night. So the first baby, you're like, oh, baby, baby, baby. And the second two, you're like, good night. Ready, sleep.
wow.
But the first baby, that's why I can't stand. It's really hard to like these first time mothers that are like really freakos. If you're a freako mother, you're going to have a freako kid. Do you agree?
I call them usually, those are the hover parents. The hover parents are the ones that, don't let their child basically do anything. Like they're the ones that would rather keep them riding training wheels for the rest of their lives than to
If they even
actually
run
give
a
them a
bike.
chance to ride their bike. Yeah.
Or the ones that are like, Joshua, 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 Joshua 1, Joshua 2. I'm like, you and Joshua better get out of here. I loved Fire and Ice because it says unattended children will be given a lot of candy and a puppy.
Yeah. I mean, when you think about it, those are the hover parents are the ones that have their kids in the swings that are that they place them in when they're like 6 years old. Where when we were 6 years old, we would be swinging on the swings, that have like the little bench bottom, whatever,
Yeah.
with the chains, the big thick chains, and we'd be
Yes.
standing up swinging, excuse me, on them. We wouldn't be sitting down on it. We'd be standing.
Of course you would. And then,
Of course, we'd jump.
The thing.
Yeah, we'd jump, or we'd be swinging like regular swinging, whatever, and go as high as we could, and then we'd jump.
Yeah.
I mean, I would imagine they would probably like keel over in shock if they ever even witnessed half of the stuff that we did. Our parents were like, "Oh yeah, just don't break a leg,"
Don't break an ankle.
Yeah.
Speaking of, how is your ankle in? Are you like still in a boot? We haven't even talked about this still. After November 3rd.
I'm not in a boot right now. However, I do have to go in to have another little minor surgery because yes, they have decided that they are going to be taking the big long screw that goes across my entire ankle from one side to the other. And yeah, he's like, I go, oh, do you like do that in the office? And he goes, nope, surgical center. He goes, we'll just give you some local. I said, oh, no,
I don't think so.
Au contraire, you'll be knocking me out. Because the last time the second surgery when I went in, when they put me in there and we went into the operating room and I saw the entire tray filled with all those tools that they use.
Yeah.
I said, I'm just going to tell you right now, get that stuff on my face ASAP because I just saw that and I'm going to have a heart attack. So they were like, oh, everything will be fine. And then I was out and then I woke up and it was over. But I saw the tools. I saw the tools.
So when I had Kyle, I was like right at whatever time it is. So I think she was like 3 days late, right? So my water breaks, whatever, and I don't know what to do. I'm laughing my ass off every time I laugh. My water breaks more, so then it makes me laugh more. So then now they think something's wrong with me. They're like, "So what are you here for?" I'm like, "Obviously I'm having a baby," and I start and I mean, when I get nervous like that, I start to like giggle a little bit. And so my doctor said, and he's like, it's been 18 hours. So I was thinking that maybe we should think about like talking about a C-section. I'm like, no, I don't want a C-section. And they're like, what's your objection to the C-section? I'm like, because so they sent this, it was the anesthesiologist in, and I would have thought he was John Wayne, like, I'm Superman, what can I do for you? And I was like, you could give me an epidural. And I didn't want to hear the tools. I didn't want to be like, pass the scalpel, give me the clamps. I'm like, I was petrified of that. Then this guy came in and he was like, I'm going to give you magic medicine as soon as we get in there and you're not going to remember a thing. I was like, okay, that's all I needed. Because I didn't want it, like you're saying, like, you think about the old Frankenstein, like you can hear the stuff clanking or, it's scary as hell, especially when they don't tell you what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, he came in, he goes, I said, because obviously I had my Dr. Resnick, I had his initials because they have to write you have to write your initials and he has to write his initials to make sure that they're doing the right leg now because obviously they've had that
on your ankle.
Yeah, that's what they would put it. They would put like the Sharpie mark or whatever so that they know that they're doing the correct ankle. This is before they put you under, all right? Because they say, all right, which leg is being operated on? And I'd be like, well, the one that's like flopping sideways. But anyways, I digress. But they put like their initials. So for the entire few months that I had the cast on, his initial was on my leg. So every time they like would, change the cast or whatever, and I'd be like, you sure you don't want me to bring some shaving cream or whatever? And but I had because I couldn't wash it off because it was where all like the scars was and everything. And the healing part, I said, I need you to write your initials. I'm going to put a fucking tattoo right where your I didn't end up doing it, whatever. But he was like laughing. But it was on there for so long, it may as well have been a tattoo at that point.
Oh my God.
I know, and I have to go in, and he's like, it's okay. It's only going to be like an incision, might only need a few stitches. And I was like,
it's not that what you're going to do to me. It's the anesthesia. And then you come like,
I know, but and I go, I said to him, he goes, well, on a bright note, you'll have more flexibility in your ankles. So I look at him and I have my like hand straight out and I put my hand flop. I go, it's not gonna be like, is it? He goes, no.
Did you ask him if you could wear heels? And he was like, I said no.
they laughed. They more than likely I might not be able to wear heels. So I'm going to be short for the rest of my life.
I can't wear heels, and I mean, I just can't.
Well, you want to hear something? You want to be shocked?
Yes.
I actually have been wearing a pair of sneakers.
Really? Are they sparkly
No.
and glittery?
They're orange and they're blue.
Oh,
Wait, when was the last time you ever saw me wear a pair of sneakers? Ever?
never really. Yeah, I don't think ever.
Yeah. Yeah, but I still I'm allowed to wear the platform Crocs, the ones that are only like 1.5 to 2 inches. That's the highest. It has to be a platform. I can't wear any type of heels.
Oh, I mean, come on. Why would you wear any platforms after what happened?
Listen, okay? I take physical therapy in these shoes. I am okay.
Oh my God. So, obviously it was my birthday on the 15th.
Yes.
And, LinkedIn, when you,
All those people said happy birthday to you on Twitter and Facebook.
oh, I know. And you know what? I'm not that person. Like, I get really uncomfortable with that. It's,
I know, which is why I deliberately made sure that
I
everything
know.
was your birthday.
Because I just feel like it's like, and I never post like if I never post anything where people have to say, "Oh, I'm sorry that happened," or because it feels to me, because I'm the age that I am, younger people don't seem, they kind of share everything, but I feel really uncomfortable with it's like asking for a present. It just feels weird, and I know that's why you did it to me, but
And I don't mind telling people that you're still 5 months older than I am, or more.
I am 50.
Wait,
I don't know what you're talking
to be
about.
exact, you're 5 months and 16 days older than me.
So what I was going to say is, so Todd Lyons, when we had him on for ICE.
Yes, I want to have him back on because
Yes.
they just did a really amazing bust as well, I think, in the past week or so.
Yeah, so I'd really, and now that we're doing 2 hours, we could actually have him. And of course, I'm trying to get on my LinkedIn to read the message, but now everything, my passwords are all a mess. You're going to have to fix them for me. But I'd love to have him back.
Yes, because I think I'm kind of curious. I'd like to ask him a little bit about what's going on with um the migrant housing and the hotels, and the fact in the state of Massachusetts they've had multiple arrests of sex offenders that are in these hotels. What?
Oh, Diane, that broke my heart that there was so many sex offenders.
Yeah.
I mean, Maura Healey is inviting these people here and then is not ensuring their safety. I mean, the very least you can do is make sure someone's not a pedophile. It's not difficult. It really isn't. And they weren't just working there, they were living amongst them. And these kids are acting out sexually in schools. And what I get upset about is and I know they're illegal kids, right? I know that but they weren't brought here. They didn't decide to come here at age 4.
And we don't even know who their real parents are.
That's the sad thing. These kids are at school going to these Title IX, interviews or whatever by themselves at age 5. It's wrong. It's wrong. And when they don't do anything about it, then the cycle just continues. If these kids are being abused in the hotel and they're in turn abusing other kids, because that's typically how it goes, right? They're kids and they're repeating the behavior. So if a girl is climbing underneath the stall in a bathroom to kiss and kick and push and throw onto the ground another girl, what's being done to that girl?
Yes.
Who's looking out for that girl? And the district attorney's office are refusing to do forensic interviews because, well, we don't do it because of the age of the quote offender and they can't be arrested. I said, well, I understand that they can't be arrested, but do we not give a shit about kids that are acting out sexually that we know are living in a hotel with God knows who? I mean, just because they're immigrant kids doesn't mean that we don't have a duty to try to protect them as much as we can. I mean, it just makes me sick. It's just such a, you know,
You have the pedophiles that look for the opportunity, like you said. The opportunity is the state of Massachusetts. I mean, was so desperate to get people into these places to monitor. Now, keep in mind, like what they said about the migrants, which it was interesting to hear. I mean, how many of these ones that are new that are in these shelters have been able to get driver's licenses? And the reason I ask that question is they're free to come and go wherever they want. All right,
what
they're
do
under
you
no
mean?
restrictions whatsoever.
As far as what?
They can leave the shelter. They can go
Oh yeah, I mean
take a
they're not
drive wherever they
incarcerated.
want.
Yeah.
Then but yet they're paroled in this country.
How do you mean?
Meaning that if they're here, they've been paroled. They've seen the immigration judge, and who's given them a date that they have to come back. They've been like basically paroled into the country. They're not. They're not.
Paroled. I don't know if
They
paroled.
call it paroled. That's the
Do
word
they
that they
call it
call it. Is
paroled?
they're
That's what they
paroled.
call it.
Yeah, it's called paroled. Um, because they're not here legally. So are these same ones? Are they getting driver's licenses? Are they committing crimes? Because we're seeing a whole lot more crime, right?
Absolutely, but as Todd Lyons told us, the no license for illegal aliens, that law essentially forbid ICE to run any illegal alien through the registry and provided discipline or up to termination for any police department that aids ICE and runs the plate for them. So it's a self-protected harm, like it's a to ensure that these people keep harming other people by not removing it. Everybody thinks like, like someone sent me something the other day, and oh, these kids are going through immigration court by themselves and they have to whatever. And yes, they don't get a lawyer because you get a lawyer when it's a criminal charge. It's your Sixth Amendment right to have an attorney when you're accused of a crime and to have it paid for by someone else. Immigration is a civil procedure, but there's a difference between criminal law and immigration law. So I can't imagine any of us here in the United States deporting a child back to another country where they don't know where they're coming from. So I can't imagine that there's many children being deported the way people are saying, like, oh, we're deporting children. It just seems like it's propaganda to get people to hate their own country
Well,
instead of saying,
it is
why
definitely
are these kids
propaganda
here?
because the majority of the people coming in are not families. They're young men.
And dressed with, I mean, you can tell um, the way someone's dressed, like, if they're in like Tommy Hilfiger from head to bottom and it's from Target, I mean, there's just something about the way, and I'm not saying because they're illegal. I mean, people come here from Germany and do the same thing, and you're like, tourist. Um, it's just the whole thing is just sad. It's sad when you bring all these people here and you don't have a plan and you're not taking care of the people that are already here. And listen, we don't realize how fortunate we are. I mean, I thank God every day that I have a house, that I have money to pay for the things that I need. I obviously don't have an excess of money. I probably have just enough money. But I can't imagine growing up living in a hotel and they don't even, like, the school doesn't even try to get the immigrant kids to play with the other kids. You know what I mean? And try to integrate them that way. But the schools want to take on all these jobs, but then they don't actually do them.
Did I ever tell you what I like had? I was like, "Are you kidding me?" In Nashua school districts in New Hampshire, this was a few years ago. I'm pretty sure they stopped it. They actually had Spanish for Spanish speaking students as a class that they paid for with their ESL. They had the kids go on a bus by themselves.
What?
Yeah, this was a few years ago in Nashville. They stopped it. It's like, how can you have Spanish for Spanish speaking students? Why aren't you teaching them English?
Well, I always thought that. I mean, look at all the Italian kids from the lake that got to take Italian.
I know. I know. I took French, but
Hey, I'm like, you're speaking at home. It's not fair.
but the thing is it was a specific class. They didn't. It's like they were having them taking Spanish. They already know freaking Spanish, but they don't know English.
But were they trying to teach them the vernacular or like the grammar of Spanish or?
No. It was Spanish for Spanish speaking students. They got a credit for it. I
And
shouldn't
what?
say anything because my husband took German, and Dutch was his first language. But still, I digress. But no, but here's the difference, okay? When
I
you
think
take a
all our kids
language,
speak a
it's
language. I
not
mean,
paid for under ESL. English is a second language. It's not paid for under those funds. They were using funds that were supposed to teach these kids to, assimilate and learn the language, and were using it for Spanish speaking students rather than English.
well, because that's easy, right?
Yeah.
We just take
So
the easy way. My kids
exactly.
they've had 5 math teachers, I think, in the last 2 years. 5.
Wow. But I mean, you talk about the easy way. I mean, the best way for someone to assimilate into the country is immersion. And they're not doing that.
I remember reading the story, I don't know if I told you about it, because when we started to first bring in all these, like inviting all these immigrants in, I started to look up other countries, and the one that I can recall right now is Germany. And there had been someone from like East Kurdistan or Afghanistan or something like that that went to Germany. And he was actually bitching about, I have to share a room with 3 other people. And the language is really hard to learn. So he went back to Afghanistan rather than to assimilate. Because in Germany, if you don't learn the language, I think they give you a year or a year and a half to actually learn. You have to learn the language, or you get booted. And this guy left voluntarily because, I mean, he didn't want it bad enough. He was complaining that they're not giving me enough, and we're giving everybody everything with not even an expectation that these kids have parental supervision. These plans go home, like when these kids punch another kid in the face, they get this quote safety plan, and the American kids' parents have to sign it. But when they send it to whoever the other kid is that doesn't speak the language, the school's like, well, they're not obligated to sign it. So you say, well, why aren't they obligated to sign it? And the school's response is, well, the purpose of the safety plan, of signing the safety plan, is so that everybody's aware of what the expectations are. Well, exactly. So if the parents don't sign the form, they're not aware of the expectations. So are you doing your job?
Exactly. Exactly. But here's the thing. They're also supposed to be meeting with these parents. So that means you bring an interpreter in.
Right. And they're like, oh, well, the parents won't come to the school. Well, then there's got to be some
Then
sort
you
of,
go to the parents.
well, I don't know if they can do that. I don't know if you could do that. You know better than me. I don't know if you could do that.
If the parents don't come to the school, then you don't let the student back into the school.
Well, it makes me sad because I think, you know, no kid, I don't care where you're from or if your parents are murderers and you're just a baby, like you didn't do anything wrong. And you're here, but our Constitution says that we must educate these kids, but shouldn't we be teaching them English first just so they can communicate? I mean, they can't even, if something happens to them, who are they even going to tell? Because if they are here by themselves and they're living in a hotel and they're surrounded by adults that they don't know or didn't know prior, and they're acting out sexually in the school, that's a red flag for somebody. And it breaks my heart that these kids are being charged with sexual harassment as a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old or a 7-year-old.
And you have to question where they're seeing this type of behavior.
And then, but at the same time, it's like, yes, you can't attack kids, but how does a 5-year-old learn to attack somebody, unless they're born a sociopath, which, that's a whole other route.
That
But,
happens.
like, I remember one time we were coming home from Christmas and Kyle was really little. She just learned how to talk. All of a sudden she's in the back seat and she goes, fuck. And I looked at OG and I was like, I've been trying so hard not to swear. I said, I haven't sworn a whole time we were here. He goes, me either. He goes, it must have been your cousins. So kids repeat what they hear and they repeat what they see. If the father beats the mother, they're going to beat their girlfriends most likely, unless they have other influence in their life that teaches them that beating your girlfriend is bad. So now, if and Carrie McRae and Caitlin Hutchinson made a good point. They're like, you people aren't doing anything about this when they're in kindergarten, assaulting other students while their pants are down, peeing in the bathroom. And one of the principals is like, well, kids do that kind of stuff. Well, you know what? You're an asshole.
No, they freaking don't.
You're an asshole. If you're going to say that a girl's in the bathroom with her pants down and it's normal for another kid to peek under the stall, and fix the freaking stall. It's not rocket science.
Exactly.
Put two pieces.
And boys and girls should not be sharing the bathrooms. I'm sorry.
But the thing is, like, the parents don't know. So it's not there. Caitlin Hutchinson didn't know that her daughter in kindergarten was allowed to go in the same bed. She heard the other boy peeing before he peeked under the stall at her. Like, that's weird. Like, I don't want to go to the bathroom. I remember I was at UMass Amherst once, way back then, and they had co-ed bathrooms and showers, which I thought was stupid. And I remember peeing, and I saw the feet on the other side with the other way, and I was like, oh, this is so, I got to get out of here. And I was, 21.
Yeah.
I don't pee next to a guy, and I don't, and they're like, oh, it's, like it's no big deal.
I mean,
like, what? You can't have privacy going to the bathroom? I mean, and, well, why do they have, well, because it would take us too many bathrooms to figure out the gender. Well, then how about you just have one person go in the bathroom at a time? Oh, we don't allow more than 2 kids in the bathroom at the same time. What difference does it make if you allow a boy with a girl or if you allow a girl with 15 guys? What's the difference? I mean, really, you're invading our privacy already.
I mean, all of these changes just to accommodate the less than 1%.
A fraction.
Never seen anything like this.
Yeah, it's not right. And when you say, like this one girl was indecently assaulted, and then when she went back to school, they kept the assailant in the same class with her.
Yes.
The mother's like, what the hell do you mean she's in the same class? Well, we're not allowed to, blah, blah. She was sexually assaulted, you idiot, in the bathroom. And you're worried about a regulation? Come on now. Bruises on the kid and everything, crying. Kids don't make up that stuff.
No. And it's the unfortunate part of sometimes where, when it comes to the schools and like the SROs, one would think the SRO could, obviously interview or talk, and they can't.
No, it's part of the
yeah, they cannot. The only way they can is if there's a follow-up interview done with like CASA or something like that, Child Advocate Services, and then they sit in on it and take notes.
Ours aren't allowed to do that. They're not allowed to participate in any law enforcement activity that has to do with the students. And not only that,
well, if the Child Advocate Services are doing the interview like at that location, then our SROs are allowed to go.
Yeah, no, ours don't. They don't do any law enforcement investigative. They're there for like, quote, safety. But they're also, what I think is really sad is if the school violates the school policy, which the school resource officer is part of the school, even though they're a police officer, they're not allowed to report it. So if the school, say, didn't, didn't report something, the cop is like not allowed to report that. The whole system is set up to protect the perpetrator. when it's like an assault in the school, especially if it's a teacher. And then, yes, you're not going to prosecute a 6-year-old, but don't you think if a 6-year-old's acting out sexually that
You want
somebody
to know why?
ought to do an investigation? And, hey, maybe they are doing an investigation and we just don't know about it. But when the same kid is assaulting, punching, headbutting, choking another kid at age 5 after you punched a kid, headbutted a kid, like something's wrong. Like somebody needs to go.
Who thinks to headbutt at that age?
Who knows where these poor kids have been? And we have no idea what's happened to them.
And what they witnessed.
No, what they witnessed, what they went through, who they're with. They could be, for all anybody knows, they could be getting pimped out at the hotel because look at all the pedophiles that were in, was it Boston, in the shelter?
Well, you have at all the various shelters, they arrested a bunch of people. They arrested people that were working there. They arrested people that had come across the border with convictions or whatever that they found out afterwards. These are the type of people that aren't being properly vetted. You got Majorcus or whatever the hell his name is, and whatever the hell, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The Secretary of State and Biden. Do we even blame Biden at this point? Because who's the one that's supposed to be in charge of the border? It's supposed to be Kamala Harris.
Do you
He
think
put her in charge of that, and she hasn't done a damn thing. I don't even think she has been down at that border maybe once in the past 3 years.
What do you think she's on? Because it's got to be something. I'm sorry.
I will say when it comes to the debates that Trump wants Biden drug tested, they had to have shot him up with Adderall. Easy.
Well, what are they shooting him up with?
People that I've talked to in the medical field think it's Adderall.
Wow.
Yeah. And the thing is, I just saw this show that I thought was really amazing. All right. And I don't know if they're accurate, but the person put on a pair of glasses. All right. And when he looked at the people, all the information came up right in the glasses, kind of like a teleprompter that's in your glasses. Now, whether Biden is even cognizant enough to be able to read something like that, I don't know. But I think they take his damn glasses off too. Because I don't trust him. Well, he doesn't wear glasses, does he? He wears contact
Well,
lenses.
who knows if it's even him? Honest to God, that's where I'm at this point. He could be dead for all we know, and that could be some guy.
Who's running the country?
I don't know.
They say Obama. He went to Chicago and said, Obama sent me here in the middle of COVID and told me to fix it, and I did. Really? Because Obama wasn't president, you fucking idiot. Excuse my French.
And it's so embarrassing. Like, I think Jill Biden's definitely going to hell.
It's elder abuse.
One, because she was the babysitter, I think, too, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So that's kind of
What has she done? She's completely useless.
Well, she, what's the get? Like, it's not eternal life. It's not immortality. You're basically, with someone who isn't cognizant really, or doesn't appear to be cognizant of what's going on.
And is a freaking pedophile.
What joy does that bring you as a person? In your fancy group, people kiss your ass. Is that what it is? You get
he spoke at the Morehouse in Georgia, the all black college or whatever, and he's basically telling them you have to work 10 times harder to get anywhere in this country because of the Republicans, and it's like, are you kidding me?
Wait, because they're what? Oh, because
they're black. You have to work 10 times harder. And then when they spoke, all across the country to black people, they're like, the Democrats are the ones that are standing in the way, and they created this culture of people that only wanted government handouts, and that's not what they want anymore. So what are they doing? They're trying to buy more of the minorities with the government handouts. All right. The Obama phone. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
People couldn't afford a cell phone. Meanwhile, you have all these people that have come over that have free data plans. and they have their telephones and they have their EBT cards. Oh, people didn't want the EBT cards. They wanted the ones like the frickin', I don't want to use it on food. I want to use it on cigarettes and beer. And they allowed them to do it.
Well, how about the fact that they made it so easy? Because, you know, um, there's nothing, and this is going to sound bad, but sometimes there's nothing wrong with a little shame, you know, to motivate somebody, and I get that some people, it used to be transitional assistance, not generational assistance.
Correct.
Not I don't have to work again, and I'm just going to be happy with me and my cousin and 19 other people living in this house and have really nice sneakers and a nice car, but a mattress on the floor. And I think education is where they have our kids all the time, and they've basically ruined them.
They have.
Because no one's resilient anymore. Why aren't we teaching resiliency instead of, oh, you're black or you're brown and you can't possibly do as there's stupid white people out there. They're just as stupid as anybody else.
It's a victimization era right now.
It's
people always have to be a victim. Poor, pitiful me. I couldn't succeed because it was all because of you or everybody else, but the one person that should be blamed, which is the person speaking, I didn't go to class because I didn't like my teacher. Okay. Well, you didn't like your teacher. Did you try and find another class that you could go into? Well, no. I just didn't like my teacher. Therefore, I should still get credit because I didn't like them.
That's my daughter. She didn't like her teacher, so she wouldn't do her homework. I said, it's not hurting your teacher because I don't like that person. I said, but it doesn't make a difference because you're the one that gets hurt because you're not doing the work.
Exactly. Exactly.
She didn't learn that from me. My biggest saying is nobody likes a helpless girl.
Exactly.
I mean, that's what I've always said to my kids is nobody likes someone who's helpless. It's boring. Helpless people are boring.
I mean, I will be absolutely helpless if it comes to if it's a spider or a bug or something that I am not going to kill.
Well, you heard me. My dog, I don't know how it happened, pooped on the floor, which was disgusting.
I told my husband about that. He's like, Jeepers Christ. He goes, she has been to freaking, crime scenes that are probably the most horrendous things in the world. And I'm like, Alex, she was gagging. I was laughing so hard.
I was literally, it was amazing whether it was my kids pooped or my dog, but I can see blood and guts and whatever. That doesn't bother me. It's the smells. It's the smells. I can look at anything, but once the smell, it's like when you're sitting and you're watching TV and, my boys are with me or whatever, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, the dog will fart and it will just slowly kind of, it's like, and they're like, Mom, stop it. And they'll get up and leave, and then I get to watch what I want.
Well, believe it or not, we're at the end of our 2 hours.
So I don't know who we're going to have on, but I hope it's some of the parents from Kingston next Monday. And then I'd really like to have a whistleblower on from the sheriff's department, but we've been trying to work on that for a while. And I don't want to push anybody whenever they're ready to do it.
And we want to get Todd Lyons back on too to get an update on what's been going on with immigration.
Yeah, because I definitely know about what's the responsibility for these children. I mean, you get social workers that are only paid minuscule amounts of money for $40,000-$50,000 a year, which, for that kind of stress and work is not a lot of money.
Right. Well, we will see you guys all next Monday. Join us at 8 p.m. where we'll have a pretty good discussion again about the migrants, what's going on in Massachusetts, as well as global politics as well. And goodbye, oh President of Iran. I'm so glad you're dead. May you rot in hell.
in your hard landing death.
Yeah. And you're going to join Soleimani or whatever the hell his name is, the butcher of Iran. Go fuck yourself. Have a great week, everybody. Bye. Good night.
Hello, Rick.
Rick, you gonna end the show?
Maybe
Is he
Orty
asleep?
will just. Oh, Orty only comes on Wednesdays, right? I guess
Well,
we're like free flying. Hey, everybody, it's 10:01. Where is your executive producer?
yes, where is our producer?
What do we do? Just hang up, or should we call his house and see if he needs help?
I don't know.
Did you know 9 out of 10 customers would recommend AAA insurance to a friend? Whoa! 9 out of 10 people don't even like baseball. And that's America's pastime.